You think you already know everything, then this video might shake you up, because the truth is, what you don't know is exactly what's keeping you broke.
You see, most people walk around with their heads held high, filled with opinions, assumptions, and ego. They think they know how money works. They think they understand success. They think they've got it figured out. But let me tell you something powerful. You can be right, or you can be rich, but you can't be both. That's not just a clever line. That's a truth backed by decades of observing how wealthy people think and behave versus how broke people think and behave. It's not about how smart you are. It's not about your job, your college degree, or even how hard you work. The difference is mindset. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever wondered why some people just keep growing mentally, financially, emotionally, while others stay stuck in the same place year after year? They're not necessarily more talented. They're not working 20-hour days. They don't have magic powers. But they do have one thing in common. They've trained their minds to never stop learning. Rich people see themselves as students of life, forever evolving, forever expanding. They admit when they don't know something, they seek out new information, they ask questions, they stay curious, and they absorb wisdom like a sponge. Meanwhile, poor people, they shut the door before opportunity even knocks. They say things like, I already know that. Yeah, I've heard that before. That doesn't apply to me. And boom, just like that, they block growth, they block wealth, they block transformation. In this video, I'm going to reveal a simple but powerful truth. The moment you think you already know it all is the moment you stop growing. And if you're not growing, you're dying. That's not philosophy, that's real life. We'll dive deep into the exact beliefs that keep people broke, beliefs they don't even realize they have. You'll learn why the wealthy treat every day like school and why the poor treat learning like a punishment. I'll share real stories, shocking research, and insights that the wealthy don't talk about in public. Why? Because if everyone adopted a growth mindset, the competition would get fierce. But 97% of people won't do it. They'll click away. They'll say, I've heard this before, and miss the life-changing truth that was hidden between the lines. But you're still here. That tells me something. That tells me you're different. That tells me you're ready. And if you stay with me to the end of this video, I promise you this. You will walk away seeing yourself and your future in a completely different light. You'll learn why wealthy people constantly unlearn what they were taught, how poor people mistake certainty for confidence, and why that's dangerous. Exact mental habits rich people use to reinvent themselves again and again. And how you can start shifting into that same mindset starting today. We're going to tear down the myths that are keeping you small. We're going to expose the lies society has fed you. And most importantly, we're going to build up the beliefs that attract wealth, success, and fulfillment into your life. Listen, this isn't fluff. I'm not here to make you feel good for a few minutes and send you back to your old life. I'm here to wake you up. I'm here to push your limits. And if you're brave enough to stick with me till the end, you're going to walk away with something most people never get. Awareness. Because awareness is the first step to change. You can't change what you don't see. And once you do see it, you can never unsee it. So if you're ready to stop repeating the same financial struggles year after year, if you're ready to break the cycle of I already know and start asking what can I learn, if you're ready to step into the mindset of the rich, not just in money, but in life, then welcome to the ride. Welcome to T Harv Eker Motivation. This channel's for the doers, the learners, the rebels, the ones who know they were meant for more. And if that's you, I want you here with me. I want you growing, winning, and living at your highest potential. So don't just watch commits. Hit that subscribe button. Join our community, because this isn't just another motivational video. This is a turning point. You ready? Let's go. Before we talk about the mindset difference between the rich and the poor, let me introduce you to where this all began.
I'm T Harv Eker. For those who don't know, I'm the author of the best-selling book, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, and I didn't write that book to sound smart or impress anyone. I wrote it because I lived both sides. I've been broke. I've had nothing. I've also built multi-million-dollar businesses and lost them, and I've built them back again.
So when I talk about money, mindset and success. I'm not speaking from theory. I'm speaking from real hard-earned experience. This isn't something I learned in a classroom. This is what I learned in the trenches of life, failing, rebuilding, and growing. In Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, I break down one of the most dangerous lies people believe, that rich people are somehow born lucky, special, or gifted. That's nonsense. The truth is this. Your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. If your mind is set up for success, it will show up in your results. But if your mind is wired for fear, doubt, or ego, no amount of hard work will save you. Now, let me give you one of the core principles from that book, one that has the power to flip your entire life around if you truly get it. Rich people constantly learn and grow. Poor people think they already know. Let that sink in. Really feel those words. Because this isn't just a catchy quote. This is a lens through which you can see your entire life and the results you've been getting so far. Think about it. Have you ever met someone who has an answer for everything? You try to share something new and they say, yeah, I know that, but their life doesn't reflect it. Their bank account doesn't reflect it. Their relationships don't reflect it. Here's the truth. If you truly knew it, you'd be living it. That's what separates the wealthy from the struggling. Rich people operate from curiosity. They approach every conversation, every book, every experience with the attitude, what can I learn from this? Poor people, they operate from ego. They block themselves from growth with 5 deadly words. I already know that. Let me tell you something. Every time you say, I already know, your brain shuts off. You stop listening. You stop receiving. You stop expanding. And guess what? So does your income. So does your influence. So does your future. Rich people don't pretend to know everything. In fact, the wealthier they are, the more humble they become about what they don't know. They read constantly, they take courses, they hire coaches, they ask questions, they hang out with people who are smarter than them. Why? Because they understand something most people don't. Growth is the gateway to wealth. Poor people cling to what they know, even if it's not working. They protect their current identity, they defend their current beliefs, and they do it at the cost of their future. Now, let me give you an example. When I was younger, I thought I had it all figured out. I thought I was smart. I thought I knew how to make money. But the truth was, I didn't. I was broke. I was struggling. I was blaming the economy, my parents, the government, anyone but myself. Then one day, someone asked me a simple question, if you're so smart, why are you broke? Boom. That question hit me like a truck. It made me realize, maybe I don't know as much as I think I do. Maybe I need to unlearn some things before I can truly learn what works. That was the turning point. That's when I started studying how wealthy people think, how they act, and how they make decisions. And guess what? Everything changed. That's what I want for you. But to get there, you've got to drop the ego. You've got to let go of the need to be right, because being right doesn't pay the bills. Being right doesn't build your business. Being right doesn't create freedom. Learning does. Listening does. Being open does. Let's be real. Most people avoid learning because it makes them feel uncomfortable. It challenges their beliefs. It forces them to confront the fact that they might be wrong. And for some people, that's more terrifying than being broke. But here's what the rich know. Discomfort is where growth begins. They're not afraid to admit they don't know something. In fact, they welcome it, because every gap in their knowledge is a doorway to improvement. Every new lesson is an upgrade to their mental software. Think of your mind like a computer. If you never update your software, your system crashes, it gets slower, it becomes outdated. Same with your beliefs, same with your habits. If you never upgrade your thinking, you'll keep getting the same old results. That's why rich people read books. Not because they're bored, but because they're upgrading their system. They're expanding their mental models. They're feeding their minds with information that can make them smarter, wiser, and wealthier. And it's not just about money. This principle applies to everything: your health, your relationships, your happiness. People who are thriving in life never say, I already know that. They say, what else can I learn? Let me share something fascinating with you. Studies have shown that self-made millionaires read an average of 1 book per week. That's about 50 books a year. You think that's a coincidence? No way. That's a pattern. On the flip side, the average person reads 1 or 2 books per year, and usually it's fiction or entertainment, not growth, not learning, not personal development. So what's the result? One group keeps expanding, the other stays stagnant. And the difference doesn't show up right away, but over time, it's massive. It's exponential. It's undeniable. You might be thinking, but I don't have time to read a book every week. That's okay. Start with 10 pages a day. That's all it takes to shift your mind. You don't have to become a scholar overnight. You just have to commit to learning every single day. Because when you stop learning, you start dying. That's the truth. So before we go any deeper in this video, I want you to ask yourself one powerful question. Am I truly open to learning, or am I clinging to what I already think I know? Your answer to that question will shape your future more than any economic policy, job opportunity, or stroke of luck ever could. Because remember, rich people constantly learn and grow. Poor people think they already know. And in this life, you don't get what you want. You get what you are. So if you want more, you've got to become more. And the only way to become more is to keep learning, keep growing, keep evolving. Let's talk about what truly separates the rich from everyone else. It's not just money. It's not their car or their house or the zeros in their bank account. It's their mindset, specifically their growth mindset. Wealthy people have trained their minds to stay open, curious, and always ready to adapt. They never say, I've arrived. They say, what's next? They don't settle into comfort zones. They live on the edge of expansion. They chase growth the way most people chase convenience. That's the difference. I want you to really hear this. Wealthy individuals don't stop learning when school ends. They double down. They treat life like a never-ending classroom. Every challenge is a test. Every mistake is a lesson. Every success is an opportunity to go even further. Take a look at today's world. It's changing faster than ever. Technology is evolving. Markets are shifting. Industries rise and fall in a blink. If you're not learning, if you're not adapting, you're falling behind. And that's not a scare tactic. That's reality. Alan Cheng, who studied and summarized hundreds of personal growth books, points out that the most successful people are not necessarily the most talented, but they are the most adaptable. That word right there, adaptability, is the currency of the future. You don't need to know everything, but you need to know how to learn anything. The rich embrace this. They welcome change. They pivot quickly. They're not attached to old ways of thinking. That's why they stay ahead. While others are complaining about how things used to be, the wealthy are preparing for what's coming next. Now, compare that to the poor mindset. People stuck in poverty, financially or mentally, often operate from a place of false certainty. They say, I already know that. But what they really mean is, I'm too afraid to look at something new. That belief that you already know enough is like building a wall around your potential. Nothing gets in, nothing grows. When you think you already know everything, you stop listening, you stop observing, you stop questioning. And the worst part, you start making the same choices over and over again, expecting different results. That's the trap. Complacency is a silent killer. It doesn't show up with warning signs. It shows up as comfort. It shows up as routine. It shows up as good enough. And slowly, it drains your drive, your dreams, and your destiny. I've seen it too many times. People who used to be hungry for change, for success, suddenly get comfortable with average. And when someone offers them new information, a new method, a new way of thinking, they reject it, not because it's wrong, but because it threatens what they've already accepted as truth. That's the danger of a fixed mindset. It convinces you that you're fine where you are, even when you're not. Summarypedia once pointed out that this mental trap, this resistance to new ideas, is one of the biggest blocks to success. They called it a self-imposed limitation. And that's exactly what it is. The only thing standing between you and the next level of your life is the belief that you've already arrived. You haven't, and neither have I. The moment you think you've learned everything, that's the moment your growth stops. And when growth stops, opportunities disappear. But let's flip this. Let me show you what it looks like when people embrace learning, when they live with a growth mindset. Let's start with Bill Gates. Bill Gates reads about 50 books a year. That's one book a week. Think about that. One of the richest men in the world doesn't say, I've made billions, I'm good now. No, he studies, he reads, he takes notes, he isolates himself for reading vacations where he devours knowledge for days. Why? Because he knows that staying informed is not optional, it's essential. He doesn't wait for knowledge to come to him, he goes out and gets it. Then there's Warren Buffett. Buffett, another billionaire, spends nearly 80% of his day reading newspapers, reports, books, anything that can give him a deeper understanding of the world. He once said, "The more you learn, the more you earn." And he meant it. These men don't read because they're bored. They read because they know one truth: learning is leverage. The more you know, the more power you have to act, decide, and lead. Now, let me show you the other side. Blockbuster Video, remember them? They had the chance to buy Netflix early on for pennies compared to today's value. But they said streaming, that'll never work. They thought they already knew the future. They resisted change. And where are they now? Gone. Same with Kodak. They invented the digital camera, but they were so committed to their old business model, they ignored the revolution sitting in their own lab. They said people will always want printed photos. Wrong. And they paid the price. You see the pattern? The people and companies that get stuck in old thinking die in new worlds. But the ones who stay curious, who keep learning, who remain open, those are the ones who thrive. Let me bring this closer to home. Look around in your own life. Who do you know that's constantly growing, evolving, leveling up? And who do you know that's been in the same place, thinking the same way for years? What's the difference? It's not luck. It's not chance. It's mindset. And the good news, you get to choose yours. But you can't make that choice until you realize where you are right now. Are you living with a growth mindset, or are you clinging to a fixed one? This is not about intelligence. It's about humility. It's about admitting, I don't know everything, but I'm willing to learn. That's the doorway to transformation. So ask yourself right now, am I open? Am I willing to grow? Am I coachable? Because the people who say yes to those questions, those are the ones who rise. Those are the ones who get rich. And not just in money, but in life. Let's get something straight. Growth doesn't begin with knowledge. It begins with humility. That's right. The first step to becoming wealthy, successful, fulfilled is admitting that you don't know it all. It's admitting that you have blind spots, that you have room to grow, that there are levels you haven't reached yet and lessons you haven't learned. Most people don't like to do that. Their ego gets in the way. Their pride gets in the way. They want to be seen as smart, capable, experienced. But let me tell you, ego is the enemy of progress. The moment you let your ego run the show, your growth stops. Here's what I've learned over the years. The more successful someone is, the more humble they tend to be, because they've been through enough to realize that success is not about having all the answers. It's about being willing to find the answers. And that takes humility. True wisdom doesn't come from knowing everything. It comes from knowing how much you don't know. That's why the richest people in the world still ask questions. That's why they still read books, still take courses, still hire coaches, still listen when someone gives feedback. They're not doing it to feed their ego. They're doing it to expand their capacity. Think about that. If you walk into a room thinking you already know more than everyone else, you miss the chance to learn something that could change your life. But if you walk in with an open mind, ready to absorb, ready to grow, you're already ahead of 95% of the population. Humility creates space. And in that space, transformation can happen. Now, if you're serious about changing your life, if you're ready to move from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset, there are some action steps you need to take. These aren't just theories. These are practices that will stretch you, shape you, and shift you into the next version of yourself. First, start seeking feedback. I'm not talking about praise. I'm talking about honest, constructive feedback. The kind that stings a little, the kind that shows you where your blind spots are. Because let's face it, we all have them. And the people around us can often see things we can't. So ask your mentors, ask your team, ask your friends, what's one thing I could do better? Where am I holding myself back? What do you see in me that I don't see yet? And here's the key. Don't defend yourself when they answer. Don't explain. Don't justify. Just listen, take it in, reflect on it, grow from it. Second, invest in your personal development. Look, there are two kinds of expenses in life. Those that drain you and those that grow you. A Netflix subscription is an expense. A seminar, a book, a course, that's an investment. And wealthy people know the difference. Don't think twice about putting money into your mind. It's the only place where the return is infinite. You might lose your job. You might lose your business. But if your mind is strong and sharp and trained to grow, you'll bounce back every time. So buy the books, take the classes, go to the events, hire the coach, subscribe to the programs that challenge you. Not because you're not enough as you are, but because you can be more. And third, surround yourself with growth-minded people. You become like the people you spend the most time with. So if you're constantly around people who complain, who stay stuck, who laugh at learning, who reject change, you'll eventually mirror that energy. It's contagious. But if you're around people who push themselves, who ask big questions, who dream, who execute, who take risks, you'll rise with them. The right environment is everything. If your circle isn't challenging you, it's limiting you. So look around. Who are you talking to daily? Who's influencing your thinking? Who's shaping your beliefs? Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do for your growth is not to add more information, but to subtract the wrong voices. And remember, growth doesn't always feel good. It's not always comfortable. Sometimes it feels like confusion. Sometimes it feels like frustration. Sometimes it feels like you're going backward, and that's all part of the process. When you go to the gym and lift weights, your muscles tear a little before they grow stronger. The same with your mind. It stretches, it struggles, and then it expands. So if you're feeling challenged, if you're being stretched, that's a good sign. That means you're doing the work. And listen, I'm not here to sugarcoat anything. The path of growth is not easy, but it's worth it. It's the only path that leads to real lasting success. Because the truth is, rich people aren't rich just because of what they do. They're rich because of how they think. And they think differently because they've chosen to learn, to grow, and to stay humble. So I'll ask you again, are you ready?
Are you ready to drop the ego, to lean into discomfort, to invite feedback, invest in yourself, and build a circle that elevates you?
If the answer is yes, then you're already on the path. Let's talk about something that doesn't get enough attention, the fear of not knowing. Most people won't admit it, but deep down they're terrified of looking ignorant. They're afraid to say, I don't know. They're scared someone will laugh at them, judge them, or think they're not smart enough. So what do? They pretend. They fake confidence. They nod along when they're lost. They avoid asking questions. They hide behind what they already know, even when it's not enough to take them where they want to go. Let me tell you something I've learned over and over again. Pretending to know is far more dangerous than admitting you don't. Because when you pretend, you stop growing, you protect your ego, but you sacrifice your potential, and that's a terrible trade. Here's the truth. Not knowing is not a weakness. It's a signal. It's a message from your future saying, here's where we begin. Nonfiction Chocolate, in one of their thought-provoking breakdowns of personal development, put it beautifully. They said, not knowing is the beginning of knowing. That shift in perspective is powerful. When you admit you don't know something, you give yourself permission to learn, to expand, to evolve. Think about the last time you didn't know how to do something and you figured it out. Maybe it was learning to use a new tool or starting a new job or fixing something around the house. Remember how empowering it felt to go from confused to confident. That process, confusion, effort, clarity, that's what growth feels like. But here's the catch. If you never allow yourself to say, I don't know, you never get to the other side. The most successful people I know are professional learners. They don't hide their ignorance, they attack it. They say, I don't know yet, but I will. That one word yet changes everything. Now let's talk about the payoff. The long-term benefits of continuous learning aren't just nice, they're life-changing. First, you become more adaptable. Life doesn't move in straight lines. It throws curveballs, it shifts, it disrupts. The people who thrive aren't the ones with rigid plans. They're the ones who can pivot fast, who can adjust, who can walk into any room, any situation, and figure things out. And how do you build that ability? By learning, by constantly exposing yourself to new ideas, new skills, new environments. The more you learn, the more flexible your mind becomes. You stop being thrown off by change. You start dancing with it. Second, you become a better problem solver. Every challenge you face is really a puzzle. And the more tools you have in your mental toolbox, the faster and better you can solve it. When you're always learning, you start to connect dots other people don't even see. You start coming up with solutions that seem like magic to others. But to you, it's just the result of your growing mind. You become the person people turn to when things go sideways. And let me tell you, being that person is powerful. Third, and this is a big one, you create more financial opportunities. People pay for value, and the more you know, the more value you can offer. The better you are at solving problems, the more indispensable you become. Whether you're an employee, an entrepreneur, or an investor, your income will always catch up to your growth. You want to earn more, learn more. That's the formula. And here's the beautiful thing. Learning doesn't stop with books or courses. It shows up in conversations, in travel, in mistakes, in mentorship. Every single day offers you a lesson if you're willing to see it. But again, it takes humility, it takes courage, and yes, it takes facing the fear of not knowing. I get it. It's vulnerable. But let me remind you, there's no shame in being a beginner. Everyone you admire started there. Every expert was once clueless. Every master was once a student who wasn't afraid to look foolish. You can't skip that part. You grow by being uncomfortable. You grow by admitting you need help. You grow by trying things before you're ready. So the next time you feel that fear, the fear of not knowing, don't shrink. Don't run. Lean into it. Say, this is where I grow. Because the longer you hold on to the fear, the longer you stay stuck. But the moment you let go, the moment you say, I don't know, but I'm willing to learn, you open the door to everything you've been chasing. Success, confidence, freedom. It all starts there. Let's bring it all together. We talked about the one mindset that sets the rich apart. They never stop learning. They grow. They adapt. They stay humble. While others say, I already know, they ask, what else can I learn? We explored the dangers of a fixed mindset, the trap of thinking you've got it all figured out. We saw how humility, curiosity, and a willingness to say, I don't know, are not weaknesses, they're superpowers. And we looked at how people like Bill Gates and Warren Buffett built their success not just by working hard, but by thinking differently, by learning constantly. So here's the truth. You don't have to be the smartest. You just have to be willing to learn every single day. Because when you grow, you rise. If today's message inspired you, then make a decision right now. Embrace the mindset of a lifelong learner. Stay curious, stay open, stay humble. The world belongs to those who grow. If you got value from this video, give it a like and share it with someone who needs to hear this today. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel, T Harv Eker Motivation, for more powerful insights that will help you create wealth from the inside out. Your journey starts now. Keep learning, keep growing, and I'll see you in the next one.